Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Kayla and I make videos about all things BPD. Now, if you have been following along, you would know that I have been releasing videos that talk about the specific symptoms associated to BPD. So today we're really going to be diving into this fifth symptom, which is the one relating to suicidality and what to do about it. Now, just as an FYI, we are going to be talking about sensitive topics today, so if this is triggering to you in any way, shape, or form, please do not continue watching the video. You can go watch all my other videos that I have up on my channel. The DSM defines this fifth symptom as suicidal behaviors, gestures, or threats, as well as self-mutilating behaviors. And honestly, self-harm and suicide are a really big issue for those with BPD. This can occur for many different reasons. For example, trying to cope with extreme feelings of sadness, or guilt, or shame, or distress, trying to feel in control or punish oneself, trying to express feelings that just can't quite be put into words, or even for reasons like trying to feel alive. Now, it really varies from individual to individual and from situation to situation. When looking at what the stats have to say about suicidality and BPD, it's honestly quite shocking. The research shows that about 75% of those with BPD will make at least one suicide attempt in their lives, while many will make numerous suicide attempts. It's also important to know that folks with BPD are more likely to complete a suicide attempt than individuals with any other psychiatric disorder found within the DSM. It has been estimated that about 10% of people with BPD will complete a suicide attempt, and this is about 50 times more the rate of suicide than in the general population, which is a huge leap. As I had mentioned in previous videos, this was never really a symptom that I particularly struggled with. I did from time to time have suicidal thoughts pop in my head, but it was more when I was feeling distressed. The thoughts would kind of just come in and out very quickly. Never something that I truly considered, never had true plans or intentions or ongoing thoughts about harming myself in any way. There was one time where I did self-harm. I had gotten into an argument and I experienced rage and anger like I have never felt in my life before. I felt as though I needed to break things externally to get these emotions out of me. I did end up cutting myself, and that was the first and last time I ever did that. So that's why I say I don't really struggle with this, because this happened a few years ago. There's been no issues with that ever since, and these thoughts about suicide were more things that would pop in my head more so in the past. There are several factors related to BPD that may explain why suicide and self-harm are such a prominent issue. Now, the first one being is the high emotional volatility that we do see with those with BPD. So because folks with BPD often experience a high effect of negative emotions and emotions that feel out of control, they can then seek external things to distract themselves, help cope with these emotions, help express or release them. So if you have, like my own story, a great deal of internal rage, you might seek external outlets to help you manage and cope through the internal pain that you're feeling. Another reason why suicide and self-harm might be such a prominent issue in folks with BPD is because there are high rates of comorbidity. I can never pronounce that word, but essentially what that means is that people with BPD often have co-occurring mental disorders. So we see things like having a diagnosis for BPD while simultaneously having a disorder for generalized anxiety and major depressive disorder and bipolar and schizoaffective disorders. So we see really a vast variety of different things that an individual can have. And the more disorders that we have, the more the risk for suicide increases. Other things such as impulsivity, substance abuse, and brain abnormalities can also increase this risk for suicide. Before diving into the things that can help with this specific symptom, I want to stress the fact that if you or a loved one or a friend or anyone that you know is at immediate risk of committing suicide, you need help now. Call 911 if you're in Canada, or contact your local police wherever you are. Get yourself to an emergency room and make sure that you're safe. Okay, so now what can we do to help manage or stop this specific symptom? The first thing I will recommend is to confide in someone. I know this can be scary because it's the thing that you're trying so hard to keep it a secret from other people, but it can be a huge relief to talk to someone, to have the secret shared with someone else. things that can make this process easier is to focus on emotions when you're talking to someone else. So you don't need to go into the nitty-gritty details of what happened. Just focus on the emotions of what led up to the self-harm or suicidal ideation. You can also express yourself in the way that feels most natural and easiest to you. So whether that's writing a letter, talking to them on the phone, in person, whatever way is easiest and feels the safest for you, use that format. I also want to know that it's important to let the other person time to process these things. As difficult as it is for you to talk to someone, it can be really difficult for the other person as well to, one, know what to do with this information, and to be there truly to support and help you. So that's why it's great, yes, to confide in someone. It could be a friend or a loved one. It can also be really great and healing to talk to someone who's not biased. So talking to a therapist, for example, so they can help you work through those difficult things with less of the need for space or time to process. The second thing I will recommend is to identify your self-harm triggers. Now, this is a vital step in the recovery process from self-harm and suicide. If you can figure out what needs you're trying to meet by self-harming, you can then ask yourself the question, how can I meet those needs in other ways? Are you harming yourself because you're angry or sad? Is it because you feel lonely or shame? Is it because of external triggers and things that people are saying to you? So if you can pinpoint those specific things, then you can develop this awareness that when those things happen, I have a tendency to do this. And at that point, what other things can I do to distract myself instead of this? We can increase our awareness by practicing mindfulness or doing things like a chain analysis, which I have talked about previously, but essentially it's looking at the whole gamut of things that happen. What was the event? What was the trigger? What were the emotions before, after? Was there any other people involved in this sequence of events? So looking at it in a big picture can help us narrow our focus on the specific triggers. The third thing to do would be to find new coping strategies. Now, if you're going to replace this behavior, you're going to need to replace it with something that is more effective that doesn't include harming yourself. So for example, if you have a tendency to self-harm because you feel disconnected or lonely, you can call a friend or take a really cold shower. Or if you have a tendency to self-harm to release intense emotions, then try doing intense exercise, screaming into your pillow, punching your pillow, or doing something that really involves getting those things out of your body without harming yourself. I also want to highlight the importance of having a strong support system that's comprised of many different people. So our therapist, our doctor, our family, our friends, our partners, etc., to make sure that we are supported by people who love and care about us. It's great to have an awesome therapist who can give us unbiased insights into our lives, but if we don't have a community outside of those therapy hours, it's going to be really difficult to deal with these very difficult and daunting internal feelings that we're experiencing. As always, I'm curious to hear from you in the comments below. Let me know if you found this video useful. Let me know if there's any other topics that you would like to see covered on my channel. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like. The more people like this, the more that YouTube picks up on this and shares it, and the more that we help to spread awareness on BPD. Once again, if you're not already subscribed, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button down below, as well as the bell notification up top to make sure that you don't miss any videos when I post them every Monday. On that note, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you back here next time for another episode of On the Line.